Hi everyone, and welcome to River Hills Online. Today, as always, we invite you to come and see Jesus with us. In a world filled with confusing and conflicting voices, we want to learn to hear His voice as Jesus calls Himself the Good Shepherd, the door of the sheep. Let's find out who He really is, and let's hear what He has to say to us today from John chapter 10. Bring a friend, come on, let's go together. Well, welcome to week 3 of Come and See. And I wonder if you have noticed what I have noticed, is that there are a lot of voices out there. Have you noticed that? I discovered recently that the average American is exposed to somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 advertising messages every day. I mean, they're out there. Now, we ignore most of them. We tend to tune in on about 100. But we're exposed to lots of messages. Then throw in our personal communication. About 75 texts a day you get and respond to if you have a texting application. Social media, DMs, that kind of stuff, even more. Email, it's still out there, and it still comes washing over us every day. And there's just this cacophony of voices competing for our attention. Throw in the news media, throw in the social stuff that's out there, and we're just in a wash of competing voices. And I wonder, have you ever listened to the wrong voice? Boy, that's pretty easy to do, isn't it, sometimes? There is a thing going on. If you have a cell phone, you've probably gotten a text that looks like this. You know, it's trying to deceive you in some fashion. Scam texts and emails are real. And now, add in this factor, AI can duplicate the voice of people you love. And you can get a call from somebody that doesn't exist claiming to be in trouble. There are cultural voices that speak to us, and they don't always speak the truth. For example, the culture says, follow your heart. Now, doesn't that sound great? Here on Mother's Day, follow your heart. Just so lovely, so romantic. And yet the Bible says, Jeremiah says, the heart is desperately wicked and evil above all things. Who can understand it? So maybe follow your heart isn't the best advice in the world. Or how about this? There are spiritual teachers that say nice sounding things like, all roads lead to God. Well, is that true or not? Or is that a deceptive voice? There are well-meaning friends who offer counsel like Job's friends that just isn't very good. Or there are inner voices. And this is sometimes we deceive ourselves. We can be filled with believable lies. Things like, I'm never good enough. I'll never measure up. God can't forgive that. The deceptive things that we tell ourselves because we don't always think clearly. Now, why this matters, why this cacophony of voices out there matters, is because they shape life. The voice you trust it's going to shape the path you take through your life. That's why it's important to pay attention to the voices that are giving you counsel, to the voices you're following. And to answer this question, what voice do you trust to guide you, to encourage you, to help you in life? I think the problem is we don't always recognize which voice is worth following. In the cacophony, the competition of voices vying for attention, how do we even know which voice to follow? Well, it's with that kind of thought in mind that I want us to hear what Jesus has to say today. And how was your Saturday? Anybody have a good Saturday? This thing that we're going to hear Jesus saying to us today happened on Saturday. It happened on the Sabbath. And it happened right at the end of the Festival of Tabernacles. It was part of that very intense week where Jesus was hiding a little bit because people wanted to arrest him and kill him. He's healed a man who's born blind. Anybody ever heard of something like that? Bringing light to a blind man. And he gets in this debate with the Pharisees who didn't believe the miracle. So for Jesus, Saturday was kind of intensely emotional. It was a time when he was attacked, a time when he was misrepresented and misunderstood, a time when he was ridiculed and called names that just weren't true. And so in this context, Jesus is having a conversation with his arch enemies, the Pharisees. And he's speaking in front of this crowd, and Jesus sees the crowd, and he loves the people. So Jesus is actually speaking to people who are spiritually disoriented because they're being led by false shepherds who are speaking untrue things. He sees people who are worn out by religion putting burdens on their heads that they have no hope of ever meeting. He's speaking to people who are unsure who to trust. And in John chapter 10, Jesus speaks. But get this, Jesus doesn't just offer advice, Jesus offers himself. And so when we say to you, welcome to week 3 of Come and See, I want you to come and see. It's really all about Jesus. John chapter 10 is all about Jesus, and this series is all about Jesus. And we're asking this question, Jesus, who are you? And we're listening as Jesus answers with his own words. In John's biography of Jesus, 7 times Jesus makes self-descriptive I am statements, metaphorical statements. And today we're going to look at 2 of these that are absolutely astounding. In fact, they're high impact kind of statements, but they're highly misunderstood kind of statements. In fact, when Jesus spoke to the Pharisees, they didn't have a clue what he was talking about. But in John chapter 10, Jesus says, I am the door or the gate for the sheep. And he says, I am the good shepherd. And I think, Jesus, what in the world are you talking about? I mean, why did Jesus say this? Why did he compare himself to the door for a sheep pen? Why did he compare himself to a good shepherd? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but guess what? I don't live in ancient Israel. But Jesus did. And Jesus lived in a shepherd culture. We don't. Now, Jesus lived in a day and an age where this was a typical everyday common scene. Everybody had seen shepherds with sheep, small flocks, large flocks. I mean, it was just part of the life. Sheep were everywhere. Shepherds were sort of everywhere, part of the fabric of life. People knew sheep. How many of you know a shepherd? Huh? I know one. My wife had a sheep for 4-H in high school. That qualifies her, right? Teresa, the good shepherd. All right. But in this world, sheep and shepherds were well known and ordinary. And at the end of a day, you were highly likely to see a shepherd coming back in from having his flock out in the fields to feed them, to water them. And he'd be tired. You know, he'd been out there all day, weather beaten, kind of leaning on his staff, ready to settle in for the night. And he would bring the sheep out of the open wilderness and into a sheep pen, a sheepfold. And then he would settle in for the night at the opening to that sheepfold. And it's in that context that Jesus says, I am the door for the sheep. Now, I didn't get this till I went to Israel, and I saw a sheepfold. It looks like this. They're kind of everywhere if you start looking for them. Just an enclosure with an opening and no door. Because guess what? Once the sheep were inside for the evening, the shepherd became the door. The shepherd would lie down in the opening. No one got in or out without the shepherd's permission. And if someone was trying to get in some other way, the shepherd would protect the sheep. Now, sometimes the sheepfold was smaller like this, where you could put 2 or 3 small flocks in there. Sometimes they're much larger, where you could have dozens, hundreds of sheep. And I've actually seen this happening in Israel near Bethlehem, near the shepherd's fields. One morning I saw 3 shepherds emerge from one of these sheepfolds, and in this particular case, from caves, from holes in the ground. Dozens, maybe hundreds of sheep kind of milling around, following them. I mean, it was a picture right out of John chapter 10, where Jesus says, I am the door for the sheep. And in case you wondered, does this still happen? That's a picture from near Bethlehem, not long ago, where the shepherd is right there in the opening of the sheepfold. Or here's one with a smaller enclosure, not nearly as impressive, but the same concept. Now, I am showing you these pictures and I'm telling you these things because I didn't know a thing about sheep and I didn't understand what Jesus was saying until I learned some of this. Now I want you to hear what Jesus says about himself. Are you ready? Here we go. John chapter 10. Jesus says, truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter by the door into the fold of the sheep, but climbs up some other way, that person is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is a shepherd of the sheep. To him, the doorkeeper opens. Now, at night, there might be 2 or 3 or 4 more flocks in one of these pens. The shepherds would take turns being the door, and they knew one another. If you were part of the group, you got in. If you weren't, well, you were barred. To him, the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls out his own sheep by name, and he leads them out. When he calls them forth, he goes ahead of them. And the sheep follow him because they know his voice. Now, here's the amazing thing I saw happen in Bethlehem. Dozens of sheep milling around, 3 shepherds walking, and suddenly each of them called, and the sheep self-sorted. The sheep all got in line behind a particular shepherd because they knew the shepherd's voice. It wasn't hard to do. All the shepherd had to do was call out, and the sheep got in line right behind him. They know his voice. A stranger they simply will not follow. They will flee from him because they don't know the voice of strangers. Now, this figure of speech, Jesus spoke to them. To who? To the Pharisees. But they did not understand. They did not understand what those things which he was saying to them, what this was all about. Well, guess what? I didn't understand it either till I began to explore. And I hear Jesus say, very verily, I say truly to you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. You beginning to get the picture here? Jesus is saying to the Pharisees, you guys are crooks. I mean, that's really what he's saying to them. And I'm here to take care of people. I'm here to take care of the sheep. And the people aren't listening to you. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and will find pasture. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that people might have life and have it to the full. So here's Jesus saying, you are corrupt shepherds. You are interlopers. You are thieves. You are robbers. You steal, kill, and destroy. But I am the one who comes to save people. And again, I'll tell you, don't ever let anyone tell you Jesus didn't claim to be God. He's doing that right here, right now, when he says, I am the door for the sheep. Now, here's an important question for you. How many doors have you gone in and out through today? More than you can possibly remember. I turned on my inner clicker this morning, okay? And started counting how many doors I've gone in and out of today. Right now, standing before you, let me see. I'm at 58. 58 times I've gone through a door today. And before the day's over, I'm sure it'll be well over 100, maybe well over 200. I don't know. I just know doors are everywhere. And they're meaningful. And so Jesus says, I'm the door to the sheep, and he's pointing to a symbol, a sign, a situation that people understood. And why are doors so important to us? Because they're highly useful. I mean, doors do things like they provide protection, don't they? I mean, doors keep unwanted people and things out. So in Jesus' terminology, when the shepherd is on duty and he's barring the door and he's managing those who might try to break in some other way, I mean, there's a protective detail there. There's an element of protection that Jesus supplies, because guess what? The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. But doors are more than protective. They also grant access, don't they? Jesus is saying, I am the way for you to have access to the things that matter most in life. I'm the way for you to have access to relationship with the Father. Later he'll say, no one comes to the Father except through me. That's in a couple of weeks. Come back for that message. Hey, John 10:19, Jesus says, I am the gate. Whoever goes in and out through me will be what? Saved. So Jesus opens the way to salvation. Again, don't let anyone tell you Jesus didn't claim to be God, Messiah, Savior. Here he's doing it openly. I'm the way, I'm the path that leads to life. Jesus talked about a broad gate leads to destruction and a narrow gate that leads to salvation. And he says, I'm that narrow gate. Come in through me. You'll be saved. Isn't that cool? The door also opens access to provision. I'm the gate. Whoever enters from me will be saved. They'll go in and out and find pasture. And instantly, my head goes to Psalm 23, where the shepherd leads the sheep. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me beside quiet waters. He puts me in the green pastures. I mean, here's Jesus providing everything. Jesus opens the way to abundant life. And here's what he says, I have come that people might have life and have it to the full. And hear Jesus, know Jesus, come and see Jesus with a friend. Come and see Jesus with me, because I will tell you everything that we need, Jesus is. Look at Jesus and listen to Jesus. What voice are you hearing today? Here's Jesus' voice saying, come through me, enter through me, and you will find life now. You will find life forever. And Jesus said, I'm the door to all that. The opening, the opportunity, the gate. I mean, how incredibly important is this? Jesus doesn't end there, though. He says, all you sheep-minded people, I am the good shepherd. Here's a shepherd from Israel. Pretty cool looking, right? That's a picture that could have existed 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. Could have existed when Jesus was alive. It exists today, still in places in the Middle East. And I learned something here. When Jesus says, I am the good shepherd, what does that make me? That makes me a sheep, right? I mean, if Jesus is the good shepherd, what are the people who follow him? We are his flock, the sheep of his pasture. We are his sheep. So, did you ever take a selfie? I mean, who has it? Here's a selfie I found in your selfie photos. Are you ready? I mean, there we are. Jesus followers, that's a selfie. We're sheep. We're sheep. Now, sometimes sheep get a bad rap for being dumb. I really don't think sheep are dumb. In fact, they can be trained. They're pretty quick learners in some ways. But sheep do have two particular characteristics that put them, that just make life interesting for sheep. One is that sheep are really good followers. It's part of how God made them. Sheep follow the leader. Sheep follow the shepherd. That's why they could be self-sorting when they come out of a pen with hundreds of other sheep. They hear one voice, they follow that voice. But it also means sheep can be misled if they're not following the right voice. And isn't that true of people? We're all pretty good at following, aren't we? We follow the latest trends, we follow political parties, we follow influencers, we follow all kinds of voices. Are we following the voice of God? Because we can be misled. In Turkey a few years ago, there was a flock of 1,500 sheep up on a mountainside. They came from one village. It wasn't one flock. It was about 20 different flocks, remember, 20 different shepherds' voices, but they were out there grazing together. And something happened, and one sheep decided it wanted to take a walk off a 50-foot cliff. Remember, sheep are good followers. One sheep led the way, 1,500 followed the sheep right off the cliff. Can sheep be misled? Yeah, they can. Now, here's what happened. The first 400 sheep died. The next 1,000 survived because they landed on a giant pile of soft wool. I mean, that's the nature of sheep. That's real. And we think, well, sheep are really dumb, aren't they? No, this is not. This is not a passage about dumb sheep, although, let's face it, you and I, we can be dumb. At least I can be. No, this is not about dumb sheep. This is about Jesus. This is about the Good Shepherd. And I think sometimes we miss what a particular and unusual and wonderful kind of shepherd Jesus is, because Jesus is the Good Shepherd, the really Good Shepherd, the shepherd without equal. I am the Good Shepherd, Jesus says. Listen to his words. The shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd, doesn't own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf come, he abandons the sheep and runs away. The wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. That's Jesus talking to the Pharisees. You're a bunch of hirelings. You don't care for the people. You're just out for yourselves. And the moment the wolf comes, like the Romans, you're going to abandon everything that matters. I know my sheep. I'm the Good Shepherd, Jesus says. My sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me and I know my Father, I lay down my life. There it is again. I lay down my life for the sheep. Jesus says, I have other sheep that are not of this pen. What's that all about? Well, Jesus is talking to Jewish leaders, not Gentile leaders. He had followers, sheep, that not of the Jewish fold, but of this Gentile fold that most of us are part of. They too will listen to my voice, and we will be one flock following one shepherd. But the theme Jesus is pounding home is just how good he is. He's the good shepherd. And get this, the good shepherd is completely devoted to one thing, his sheep. Do you understand today that Jesus is completely devoted to you and to your well-being? He loves you. He is crazy for you. And the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The good shepherd lays down his life for you. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. I love this word good in Greek. It's kalos, not that you care about that. But I remember this word because it was one of the first words I ever learned in Greek. I don't remember why, but it was really on my vocab list early on. And it's an adjective, and it's the kind of goodness that just springs out of an inner reality. Jesus is good because he's good through and through. He's 100% good. I mean, there's nothing that's not good about him. He's beautiful, he's honorable, he's noble, he's excellent. I mean, Jesus is just so good. And the goodness of God means something. Because the good shepherd is good. It means Jesus takes life-giving care of me. He said, I've come that you might have life and have it to the full. I've never gotten over the fact that God loves me. And his goodness flows from that love he has for me. Jesus takes sacrificial care of me. He laid down his life for me. This is not sentimental. This is actual. This is substitutionary. Jesus died in my place. The shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. But think about this. Jesus is willing to sacrifice to protect and provide what we need. Do you ever wonder what's your biggest enemy? I think we all face a variety of enemies. The spiritual ones we could talk about. There's an evil one out there, the devil. Peter describes him as a roaring lion. That's an enemy, right? And so there can be spiritual deception and spiritual warfare. That's real. But I think most of us have other kinds of enemies. Don't we have internal enemies? Doubt, fear, anxiety, grief, greed, ambition for the wrong things. I mean, we have this inner battle that we fight with ourselves. There are external enemies. We live in a world where people will come against you, where disease can come against you, where injustice can come against you. And you can suffer not because you deserve it, but because we just live in a horrible world where things aren't always just and fair. And because of that, we're treated poorly. We can live in a world where there are financial enemies, where poverty can wound us. Internal, external, spiritual enemies, it's real. I mean, what is your biggest enemy? Jesus says, I want to protect you from that enemy because I'm the good shepherd. When I was in Bethlehem a few years ago, I took this picture. That's a fox. And this fox is actually running through the middle of one of the sheep fields. And did you know that foxes eat sheep? I mean, they're kind of like fox candy, right? And these little foxes will hunt in packs and will take down sheep whenever they can. And this is the biggest predator for sheep in Israel today. It's these foxes. But you remember David was a shepherd before he was a king. And when he was talking to Paul about fighting Goliath, he said, well, God used me before. David said, I was tending my father's flocks and I killed a lion. This was not a house cat. It was an African lion like this that were roaming Israel in that time. He said, I killed a bear. This is a Syrian grizzly bear. This picture was taken about 90 miles, 100 miles north of Bethlehem. They still exist today. David said, I killed one of those puppies. They were an enemy to my sheep. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Do you realize that every enemy you will ever face, get this, Jesus wants to stand between you and your enemy to protect you. The question is not can he? The question is, will you let him? Because the good shepherd lays down his life, his soul for the sheep. Again, I was interested this week when I read this verse in Greek, and I saw the word for life was not the word I expected. The word for life in Greek, the typical word is zoe, like the girl's name, Zoe. But this word was suke. It's the word for soul. And the idea is Jesus says, I lay down the totality of my being for your benefit. Everything you need, I am, and everything I am, I give myself to you. The totality of my being, all my soul. The Son of Man came to give his life, his soul, the totality of his being, as a ransom for many. All that we need, Jesus is. Jesus protects me from the enemies that come against me. And so know this, Jesus is a great leader, but he's not just a leader. He's my protector. He's my provider. He's the sacrificial lover of my soul. He's the good shepherd of the sheep. And notice, when Jesus sacrifices himself, it's not just sentimental. It's substitutionary. He actually dies in my place so that I can live. I mean, everything that we deserve in terms of punishment, Jesus bore. So I started today by asking you to think about the voices that are out there calling for attention. I've been one of them this morning, right? I hope you've listened a little bit. But the question is, what voice are you hearing? What voice are you listening to? And where is that voice leading you? Is it leading you toward distress or toward peace, toward pressure or toward, wow, I can just relax a little bit? Is it leading you toward life or toward exhaustion? Is it leading you toward light or toward darkness? Because the voices that are out there are calling to us, and they are leading us, because the voice that you hear will shape the life that you live. What door are you trying to enter into, to pass through? What did I say, 58, 55? It's so easy to lose count that I have passed through today. And when it comes to entering into a relationship with God, are you trying to go through the achievement door? Wow, this is a prize. I've got to work hard to gain it. Are you trying to go through the perfection door? If I just get my act together, I'll be saved. Are you trying to go through the performance door? I do this as a checklist mentality. No. Enter through Jesus. He is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. Again, come back in 2 weeks for that message. The truth is, Jesus opens life to us. Are you trying to enter through Jesus? Are you following the shepherd? Are you hearing his voice? Or are you just admiring the shepherd? Say, Jesus, you're a pretty cool shepherd. Or are you my shepherd? Do I hear your voice? I think it's time for all of us to transition from admiring Jesus to actually following Jesus. That means knowing him and trusting him and listening to him. I wonder, can you recognize the voice of Jesus in your life today? Can you recognize the voice of Jesus in this world of competing cacophony voices? Does his voice ring loudest and truest, guiding you step by step? Here's the great thing about sheep from Jesus' perspective. Are you ready for this? Sheep have ears. You got that? Sheep have ears. That's what Jesus is saying. My sheep have ears. The sheep listen to his voice, and they're never going to follow a stranger because they do not recognize that voice. But me, they know. Me, they recognize. So I wonder today, can you hear the voice of Jesus calling to you, guiding you, leading you in and out, encouraging you, loving you, blessing you? Jesus speaks to people in the first century, and he speaks to us today. People who face enemies. You know, maybe the biggest enemy we face in our culture, you know what it is busyness. You know, it's the oversaturation with stuff and sound, and just we never back off to listen to anything for very long. And Jesus is saying, listen to me. So here's his invitation. If you've been burned by bad leadership, I mean, the whole nation was struggling under the Pharisees. If you keep chasing voices that are leading you in circles and creating confusion, if you're exhausted from trying to earn favor or to save yourself, Jesus says, listen to me. Hear my voice. I know your name. I'm calling you by name. I have never gotten over the fact that Jesus says, Jeff, come follow me. Jeff, I lay down my life for you. Come follow me. Jeff, my burden is easy and my yoke is light. Come follow me. Jeff, I am the door and I'm wide open to you. Will you come and enter in? Today, the shepherd of your soul, Jesus the good, is calling your name. He's waiting for you. The door is open. The only question is, will we walk in? I invite you to enter that door right now by humbling yourself before Jesus and asking him to be your Lord, the shepherd, the Savior of your soul. Pray with me. Jesus is the Good Shepherd, and he is amazing. He provides, he protects, he guides us along the way because he loves us. If you need help to discover the love of Jesus, we'd love to go on that journey with you. DM us, let us know what's going on. We're glad to go with you. Thank you for listening today.